Hello and welcome, Angelinos. We thank you for tuning in to yet another brilliant episode of the Galaxy Guy podcast, hosted by Chris Maldonado, a show made by loyal Galaxy fans for loyal Galaxy fans who bleed blue, white and gold. So join us as we talk about the ins and outs, as well as the ups and downs of your favourite team, the one and only, the Los Angeles Galaxy.
Hola y bienvenidos, Angelinos. Welcome back, Galaxy fans, to the Galaxy Guy podcast. Como siempre, as always, I'm your host, Chris Maldonado, and today we are bringing you another great post-game show after the LA Galaxy's 3-2 win over the New York Red Bulls during the Galaxy's home opener. It's going to be a really good show today. We're going to be talking about Greg's post-game remarks, an injury report, the post-game analysis with stats, all that good stuff. And as always, we'll discuss in the little segment that I like to call the good, the bad, and the ugly of the game. To help me do all of that, I've got some of the usual guys here that most of the viewers will recognize. Tonight with me, I have the pleasure of having the man with the numbers, Mr. Casey Cagle. You guys will recognize him with his new facial hair. And I also have Mr. Matt Granger, the voice of reason, with us tonight. And someone that everyone in the Galaxy Reddit community will recognize for the first time on video, of course. He is the moderator of the single largest LA Galaxy fan community around. Of course, I'm speaking of the LAGalaxy subreddit, which we're all a part of here. And that's Mr. Kevin, a.k.a. KSN0 himself. Fellas, welcome to the show. How are you guys doing? Casey, how are you doing, brother?
I'm good.
I'm doing great. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, Casey, go ahead. I
Good. I just got the second dose of the COVID vaccine, so I'm feeling a little hot and cold at the same time. So if I start breaking out in a sweat here, don't be too alarmed. But yeah, I'm good. I'm ready to talk to some Galaxy.
That's great, man. And I love the art piece you've got back there.
Yeah, this is actually from none other than our own Nate Doty, a.k.a. Heaven on Avalon from the subreddit. He actually posted this about a year ago, and I gilded the post, and we ended up DMing back and forth, and I ended up actually going to his house, and he gave me this painting and showed me his studio and his garage, amongst all of his other paintings of Galaxy-related imagery. But yeah, it's the moment where Zlatan was subbed in his first appearance for the Galaxy in the actually first ever El Tráfico.
That's right.
And we all know how that ended.
Iconic moment. And
iconic moment.
Kevin, how are you doing, sir? It's a pleasure having you on finally, by the way.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Honestly, I don't have such an interesting background as Casey, but I'm repping my LA Galaxy Leggett shirt. But yeah, I have my own little Hall of Fame room in the other corner with my Galaxy jerseys hung up on the wall. But yeah, I'm taking this from my home office with COVID and all that. This is probably the best place for me to be doing this. So figured I might as well do it here.
Right on, man. Hey, it's a pleasure having you. Matt, how are you doing, sir? I know you were at the game. You're looking a little sunburnt. We spoke earlier. Your voice is sounding a little coarse. How are you doing, man?
No, I was hoping to kind of mask that, but I guess that the cat's out of the bag on that one. Thanks, Chris. I'm actually doing phenomenal. I'm feeling good. We got a win. I'm a little sunburnt. I tried SPF 70. It did not work. But I'm feeling pretty good. And quick short story. So I was going overseas 1 year to meet up with my sister-in-law and my brother-in-law, both of who are captains in the U.S. Army. They served in Iraq, and we were looking to show them a really good time in Prague. And Kevin actually reached out to me because he knew we were going to Prague, and he just gave me like the most extensive like tour guide, and like this is what you eat, and this is where you go, and this is the things you should look out for. Anyways, long story short, we had a phenomenal time. So I just want to say thank you, Kevin. And then I think also with Nate Doty's quasi Rembrandt photo. Of course, the only French person we have on the podcast is a painter, naturally. It just goes to show you how much of a family LA Galaxy Reddit is. So if any of there's listeners out there who aren't on LA Galaxy Reddit, please jump in. I guarantee you, factually, I have beefed with every single one of the people on this podcast and literally thought like if I could only reach them, I would punch them right in the nose. But here we all are having a good time. So jump on if you can. But I'm feeling phenomenal. A win always gets me going. So thanks for having me on again, Chris.
Absolutely, man. Listen, the Galaxy subreddit on Reddit really is a family, and like you said, we've probably all argued with each other at some point, right? But at the end of the day, it's Galaxy, right? That's what we all love. That's who we support, and it's great. I will continue having more people from Reddit on here. I think we're about maybe like 10 or 20 people shy of 7,000, right? 7,000 total fans on that site.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, like I said, the biggest LA Galaxy fan community on the internet. And we have one of the main moderators here, Mr. KSN, Kevin himself. So I know that's probably a ton of work to do, right, Kevin?
So, yeah, it could be a little tricky. It honestly could be pretty tough during the times when, like, especially when we play LAFC. Like, oh my God, our subreddit gets absolutely flooded. It's also, I mean, I want to say, we get a ton of LAFC posters, but also we get a lot of people who also feel the need to instigate with other LAFC posters because they're obviously just trying to start fights when they come to our sub. And man, if we have a game coming up with LAFC, especially this season, I think we play them 3 times. It's like that whole week I have to be watching the subreddit like every single day, like every hour. I got to be watching random posts like popping up because people will just like post like memes saying like, "Oh, LA Galaxy sucks," and then people respond to it, not report it. I'm just like, just report it so I see it. But yeah, that's honestly most of the problems. Just like random people coming to just like make fun of us because obviously, you know, we haven't had the best last like 5 years, but I really like doing it. It's like the first sub I've moderated. It's also one of the easier. Also a couple I mod like our FIFA, which is way more insane than Galaxy. Wow. Yeah. That gets a lot of, obviously FIFA is not, it's a game that like so many people play. That game can get a lot of rage inducing people. So
for sure.
The LA Galaxy subreddit is a piece of cake compared to that. And I honestly love doing it. Me and Krendus, I have no idea if you would want to do this stuff too. I'd love to be able to see how he looks and chat with him.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Open invite for Krendus as well if he's listening to this. Yeah.
I mean, I see him always like creeping on the subreddit. He occasionally posts and stuff like that. I know he's still active on the sub. So yeah, he's still clearly involved with it. So if he wants to come on too, I would love to see how he looks and chat with him too.
Absolutely. No, listen, and I do truly appreciate the support that I've received from you guys on Reddit. You guys do a phenomenal job moderating that sub. I mean, it's 7,000 people, right? It's you say it's easy, but I can only imagine what that's like. And you know, you guys are active. You guys do the post game threads, the pre game threads. Again, appreciate the work and the support that you guys put into that show, but put into the subreddit. But
yeah, I try to keep it active for everyone just to make it easy. I mean, I don't know if y'all know about Big Soccer forums. That's the other one I use for LA Galaxy. Mm-hmm. That one's more of a tight-knit community. I like Reddit more just because literally like anyone could come, and I welcome anyone. Like when we play other teams, obviously, like New York Red Bull fans will come and post like on our subreddit as long as they're, you know, fine, welcoming, stuff like that. We lose games, we win games, we tie games. I don't care. Just don't cross the line. You know, you can talk about the teams. It's all fine. I try to keep it as open as I possibly can.
Sure. Right on, man. So if you guys, what do you guys think we talk some LA Galaxy?
Yeah.
You guys want to talk some LA Galaxy? All right, let's do it. So by the way, before we start, just real quick, I have to say there's a huge shout out to all the fans who made it out to the stands today. They made it out to the game on Sunday. There may have been about 6,000 people out there, but it definitely sounded like it was 27,000. Hats off to all of you. I don't know how you're going to make it to work tomorrow. It did sound like these guys were just leaving it all on the field. So hats off to you guys. And one more thing before we begin, just want to remind the viewers to subscribe, give the video a quick like. I promise I won't spam your notifications. I do only put out one video once per week, so appreciate the support. And that's it. That's my plug for the week. But without further ado, let's get into the meat of the sandwich, right, guys? Let's talk some LA Galaxy. let's start with that starting lineup. Okay, something that stood out to me in that lineup, as we know, Adam Saldana is 2 games now that he started for the LA Galaxy. He's a young kid, teenager. He went about 67, 68 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. Another kind of surprise was that Zubak got the start on the wing. I don't know what was your take on the starting 11, guys. Was it something that you guys thought was a concrete team, or maybe something that you guys could have done a little bit different?
If I'll just jump in and say
Sure.
it was very interesting to see Zubak on the wing. I noticed almost immediately that the lineup that Fox Soccer FS1 showed was not actually the lineup we were really playing. I saw Zubak way more forward, and Vasquez looked more like a left mid than he did an attacking mid. It seemed more like a 4-4-2 because I know the graphics showed Granster at left mid, and he was on the right side all game. So, yeah, I don't know about that, but I was actually very happy to see Zubak back up top with Chicharito because clearly it seems like those two are working up top.
Sure, sure, absolutely. And you're right. I did notice that about Samuel Grancy. He was originally posted as a left winger. Played on the right. I don't know. He was interchanging there for a while. But aside from that, Julian Araujo was back in the lineup. He, of course, was suspended last game. He was on a red card suspension for the season opener, back for the home opener. We'll talk a little bit more about him, but the starting 11 was pretty much the exact same, just for that slight change there. Um, Moving forward from the starting 11, I was at the press conference after the game. Greg Vanney spoke, and so did Jorge Villafana. I know a lot of people out there were asking about the condition of Jonathan Dos Santos. He was taken off. Chicharito also came off towards the end of the game. According to Greg Vanney, it's nothing serious, nothing to worry about. They were both just cramping. We saw Javier Chicharito Hernandez stretching
Mhm.
several times during the game towards the end there. And apparently, according to Greg, Jonah has been suffering from cramps all week. So I don't know. Maybe we need to get these guys a banana and a Gatorade or something. But it sounds like it's an issue. Anything that
Sounds like
you
we
guys?
need to sounds like we need to bring back the orange slices at halftime, right?
Yeah.
But it was kind of a chippy game, and I'll get back to this later. There were a lot of kind of questionable challenges, on both sides of the ball. You saw that within the first minute of the game, with that challenge on Jonathan Bond, and of course, players are going to pick up these little knocks and cramps and things like that. And I think it might be a little bit of load management on Greg Vanney's part, to kind of save these players. And there was a lot of tiredness out there. There wasn't a lot of gas in the tank after the 75th minute. We were really hanging on for dear life.
Right.
And I think, it's going to be a question of making the right subs to make sure players can stay fit and not injure themselves.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Um, I mean, I don't know. I'm just gonna call it like I see it. I think maybe we'll get back to this at the end of the game, but I kind of feel like it's a bunch of nonsense that we can't finish a game with like any of our DPs. Chicha. I mean, I'm sure we'll circle back to this, but Chicha's go sky high. He's tired. He hit a hat trick. Okay, he gets to go out. But
Yeah.
Jonah has like a bunch of question marks on him. The fact that he can't finish a game, that he's doing 70 minutes along with like, 1 billion-year-old Victor Vasquez is in my opinion like a bunch of garbage, to be perfectly honest. And that's
Right.
that he didn't have like this exceptional game before that, you know.
Yeah.
But like I said, I don't know, maybe we'll circle back to that. But just regards to your injury,
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
We'll cover that. We'll cover that a little bit. But what you said there is a big question on a lot of people's minds, because I mean, I said it myself when it happened. I said, "Wow, we're going to finish this game off with no DPS on the field." Which it's kind of I don't know. I look back to the last couple seasons with the LA Galaxy, and I think of all the DPS that we've had on the bench in the last couple of years that have been out due to injury. And it seems like it's a recurring problem with our DPs. They just can't seem to stay healthy, right? I mean, I think the DP that's played the most for us has been Pavon. He just seemed to not get injured, period. And in fact, he actually played an entire season with injured ankles, right? I mean, we all saw the pictures. Like the guy had like chunks of bones removed from his ankles, and he still played. So I don't know. It might just be a mentality thing, but we'll definitely circle back to that. Let's start off with some key highlight moments during the match. God knows there were plenty of goals in that game. There's plenty of goals to talk about, right? If we can talk about some of those goals, let's talk about that first goal, that Javier Chicharito Hernandez goal in minute 9. What did you guys think about that goal? Because I have some thoughts on it. Let's get Kevin's intake on this. Kevin, what do you think?
So I loved it. It was a completely scuffed shot by Zubak. He was trying to shoot that back post, and Chicharito, he was completely into the play. He knew that he was just waiting for some type of rebound, for some deflection, anything, because even if he was a split second too late, that angle that he got that ball into the goal, that he genuinely could not have that was such a tight angle. A player who's not on form, who's not expecting that type of like play to potentially play out, that's maybe like a 1 in every 10 shots will happen like that. That's a confident Chicharito who just knows that, this might happen. And he's there back post, putting in with a crappy angle on top of that. So I was really impressed and happy that he was just there, because that's the Chicharito that we've been wanting for so long.
Yeah, Casey, let me ask you: is that the bread and butter of Chicharito? Is that? Yeah.
I think we both made actually the same comment in the Discord match chat about how that's just a textbook Chicharito goal. I mean, he sniffed out that ball at the far post, was in the right place in the right time, and he really got it at the very last moment. He could have gotten a touch on it and got the goal. And yeah, true poacher's goal. Definitely.
Absolutely. Hey, listen, and that goal really happened because of that steal, right? By Jorge Villafana. He pickpocketed the New York Red Bulls player. It escapes me the name of the Red Bulls player, but that was Jorge Villafana hustling for the ball. He pickpocketed the New York Red Bulls player. He passed the ball. Zubak just took off. I was very surprised with Zubak this game. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But the kid ran today, and I mean, towards the end of the game, he was gassed because he did run today. And like Kevin said, right, that was a really scuffed shot. But hey, that's a poacher, right? Just being at the right place at the right time, because you never know. A deflection comes your way, and then you end up with a goal. But moving on, let's talk about the second goal, right? The second goal was not scored by the LA Galaxy. The second goal was scored by the New York Red Bulls. That was Andrew Gutman in the 26th minute. Matt, you were at the game. What was your take on that goal, and how did you see the defense?
So, I think the way I saw it is, up until that point, and maybe like even beyond that, you could see Saldana once again like having the same issues he had in the first game, right? So I think in the first game we discussed in the last podcast that maybe the game was too big for him, too many lights, too many celebrities. First game, blah 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 blah. He had his jitters, right? Well, he comes into the second game, and quite frankly, like if Leggett hadn't got himself suspended via Instagram, he probably would have started in that spot. But here we go, right? We got Saldana in there. And again, he proved once again that like he maybe isn't ready to be a starter. He might be like a spot guy. He might come in to change pace or like ping a pass, but he's just not like that starter type. And he was struggling like throughout the game in the exact same ways he was struggling again. So here we go. Like once again, the physicality got to him. Poor pass because he just wasn't in like the tick 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 timing of the game, and then it causes a turnover, right? And
right.
Araujo, who already himself had been having like a very rusty game, which would be like the nicest way to possibly put it, was on the defense, right?
Yeah.
So he tries to do his best to defend. It goes off his heel the wrong way. Saldana, like, I don't know what he was thinking here. Maybe he thought Jonah was going to close out for him, but inevitably, like, Saldana, like, didn't put himself in a position where he was going to correct his own mistake. And sure enough, there went a goal, right?
Right.
So it was just kind of like a combination of two young players not particularly having a very solid game, either because of rust, either because of the moment, or for whatever pressure they had. Maybe it was just because they were at home and their family members were there. But
Right.
either way, like that's kind of how the first goal to me seemed to break down. And I was maybe like 5 rows back midfield from where Araujo started. Like he was visibly frustrated the entire game with how he was handling the ball at his foot. He just looked like super duper out of sorts.
No.
But that's kind of how the first goal transpired.
Yeah, usually he has a better touch,
Yeah.
And there were a lot of loose, easy giveaways in the defense in the midfield. I think we'll get to that later, of course.
I don't know if I'm alone on this or if you guys kind of feel the same way or if you saw the game the same way, but to me it seemed a little like Julian Araujo was checked out during some points of that game. It seemed like there was a combination of rust and his mind just really truly wasn't in the game. And I spoke about this a couple weeks back with Nate, I hope it's not the case, but it does seem we saw a little bit of this in preseason where he seemed a little like his mind isn't totally there, right? And it might be partially because of the failure of the national team and how they just belly flopped for the Olympic qualifiers, and Julian Araujo was a part of that. Maybe his mind was already thinking, listen, I'm going to go to the Olympics, and there he is. It's a massive failure, right? So sometimes a big failure like that can affect a young player mentally, and I said this, I hope he's not checked out mentally. I hope he can get past that failure and come back to us, but Kevin, it sounds like you have something to say there about this.
So I guess don't quote me on this because this is all speculation, but with working with the subreddit, I have people who officially work with the LAGalaxy who have told me a rumor that Araujo has already been promised to another team this summer.
Oh boy!
So yeah, it's
boy! Did you just break news, Chris?
Yeah, this might be a hot a press for y'all.
As in domestically or internationally? Or
internationally. So apparently we already have a deal with Araujo that he's going to be leaving this summer. Now, like I said, This is just pure speculation. This is someone who we have an approved member of the subreddit who has basically broke this to me. And so, yeah, I don't know. I saw exactly what you guys saw today. He does not seem like he's fully invested with this team right at the moment. And it's kind of disappointing. And I think that's also why our number one goal this offseason was to get a quality backup with Fisher, just so we don't end up kind of shorthanded.
Yeah. And what you're saying there, Kevin, makes a lot of sense, right? His mind, he's here physically with us. Mm-hmm. He's here physically, but his mind is somewhere else. And I was assuming that his mind was back with the national team and the failure of their qualification, but that makes a lot more sense. I mean, we've always had the speculation that he's going somewhere at the end of the season, but if it's in the summer, he might already be packing some bags.
That's this was told to me I think back in January. So again, do not this is not set in stone by any means, right. But I hear things from different people. I see a lot of stuff on the subreddit, and this is someone who has, I don't want to name the name because if they're wrong or whatever, I don't want you all attacking to that person, but they work with the Galaxy and they've mentioned this to us. So yeah, I get some early rumors. This person also broke to me well before that social question when he was joining us, that he told me that question was already in the building before he officially Twitter broke it. So I'm tending to already agree with or inclined to believe.
Wow, that's big. That's big. So possibly Julian Araujo will be in Europe this summer.
Yeah, apparently It was supposed to already be in January, but the Galaxy fought to have him at least for the interim because we didn't want to start the season. So I don't know. It might be till the end of the season, but I've been told it's this summer.
Wow. Yeah. Jeez.
It's big.
It's big. That's big.
But unfortunately, if he plays the way he did today, it's not a huge loss. When he got moved to right mid, it was a lot better. But at right back, I felt like he was sleeping on that second goal, especially where he just let the New York Red Bulls player sprint right by him.
For sure. Yeah, no. And you know, we'll talk a little bit more about that, but you know, let's talk about some of the other goals, right? There were more goals. The third goal was Javier Chicharito Hernandez scoring his brace in the 41st minute. That was a phenomenal cross, by the way, by Victor Vasquez, a player that we've all been thoroughly surprised with, impressed, I should say. Um, Javier Chicharito Hernandez scores that wonderful second goal. The way he brings the ball down was just perfect touch. Uh, Gets past the goalkeeper, shoots it, you know, and obviously big exciting moment. Everyone embraces him. The energy in the stadium was just electric, something that I haven't seen in a very long time. But let's talk about that goal. What were your thoughts on that, Casey, when you saw that goal?
I mean, it's obvious that the case with Chicharito is feed to this man, because if you give him balls over the top, if you give him missed deflected shots in front of the goal, the guy's going to finish it. And it was a great pass from Vasquez. I mean, over the top, was like a magnet to his foot. Like you said, he took it just one touch and hit it into the back of the net. And yeah, it was a great second goal. Somebody had called a brace in the Discord chat as well.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of a validating.
Yeah, it was Justin Cardenas, who's a member of our the Galaxy family Discord. He's one of the streamers there. He's like, I'm calling it. Chicharito's going to have a brace. And this was like right when the game started, And not only did he have a brace, he had a hat trick. Okay. Now, the unfortunate thing about this game is that we the New York Red Bulls constantly just, they were one-upping every time we scored a goal, right? So it never really felt like the game was truly out of reach. For a moment there, it did seem that way, right? 3-1, and then unfortunately, the game ended 3-2. But let's talk about that third goal. The third goal, which gave Javier Chicharito Hernandez his hat trick in the 60th minute. Another classic poacher's goal. Matt, how did you see that goal, and what was the feeling when you saw that goal go in?
Well, it was like pure elatement, right? Because it was just nice to see him be so effective. I think long goals are so much more beautiful. They're artistic. There's like things you're never gonna see again, right? But like at the same time, like I wasn't like, okay, so I was a Chicharito fan when I was much younger, but that was because like Chicharito wasn't like fast or strong. He just like always found himself in the right place, kind of like the way my career has gone in my professional life. So I just like really like admire that guy, right? And then but today, like he goes sky high for that ball, right? And it comes up beautifully. Like, so Araujo has been struggling like all game, and I think we'll get to it later when Araujo pushes up the field because Fisher comes on, right? And Araujo comes up the field, and you can just see like, okay, like this is what people are seeing in Araujo, right? Like when he gets out of his own head, he's just like a very like perceptive player. He has phenomenal instincts. He runs up, he puts that cross in. Granted, it takes a deflection, but then Chicha like all of a sudden like channels his like inner 23-year-old, just goes sky high and just like pounds that ball in, and the crowd just goes wild. And you just know like obviously after the fact, like Chicha had to stretch his calves. Maybe for an old man, he went a little too hard on that one.
Yeah,
but we've all been there,
just
right?
after every goal.
We've all been there. We've all like sprinted a little too fast, but it was great for the moment, and it was phenomenal for him. And like I said, as beautiful as long goals were, like this man has 5 goals in 2 games.
Hey, he's
like,
the leading goal scorer now in MLS.
You cannot knock this guy.
This probably is single-handedly the greatest performance by a Galaxy player in any home opener, I feel like. And no better time than to have the fans back in the stadium than have a Chicharito hat trick.
Absolutely. I feel like he needed it too after last season with everything that was going on. The amount of like hate he got, it was part of it. I won't say the hate was justified, obviously, but the criticisms were justified. He wasn't performing up to standard, and so having this this amazing start to the season, especially with fans in the stadium scoring a hat trick in front of them, that must feel amazing for him. Honestly.
Absolutely.
And like you said, Chris, he's already, top of the Golden Boot rankings. He's got 5 goals.
Stop the
which
count.
means
Stop the count.
Stop the count. Give
He's
the man
about
the
a
golden
third,
boot.
which means he's about a third of the way from the benchmark that we set for him earlier this season, 15 goals. That's pretty insane.
He needs 11 more goals to get to 16, which was the average that we did mathematically, right? But
Right. Yeah.
dude, like, listen, how good does it feel to have your star striker score a hat trick in a game? Is something we haven't seen since Zlatan. Zlatan scored a couple of hat tricks, right? But we haven't seen that in such a long time. At least it feels like we haven't seen that in such a long time. It's super refreshing. He needed it, like Kevin said, right after last season, the terrible season he had. He's now doubled. He's in 2 games. He's now doubled what he did in half the season last year, and if he scores 1 more goal, he will have tripled it, right? So feels fantastic. The score, unfortunately, was 3-2, and I say unfortunately because it was a nail biter there towards the end, right, guys? It honestly felt deep down in my gut like we were going to tie that game.
10 minutes of stoppage time.
Oh my God.
10 minutes of stoppage time is a little ridiculous. I think that might be a new record, actually.
Yeah,
I was shocked when I saw 10 minutes come up. I don't think I've ever seen 10 minutes appear in any game I've ever watched.
Never.
I mean, it was 6 at halftime. That was 16 minutes of extra time in the full game.
Yeah, it was. I mean, that's why you look at the players towards the end of that game, they were gassed. I mean, Ethan Zubak was like huffing and puffing. Absolutely ridiculous, right? But it's MLS, dude. Everything that can happen, just expect it, right? Because it's crazy. There was a VAR decision there on that. I think it was the second goal, if I'm not mistaken.
Chicharito's, yes.
The second Chicharito goal, which, if you saw it live, you're like, why are they even? It was clear. It was a goal. Like, it was onside, but I don't know. Hopefully the refereeing in MLS will eventually get better as the league progresses and gets better, but you
gotta hope so. I was half expecting some weird decision to go against us with Chicharito being called offside there because I don't know. I worry about VAR this season after seeing that they called that Higuain goal from last game against Inter Miami. They called that onside, and I understand how they don't want to copy the Premier League where they're drawing the lines and millimeters and all that stuff. That's fine. But when they showed Higuain's whole his whole torso was way offside. So it makes me nervous going forward. Like what's the definition here of onside, offside? So
yeah, no, they really need to step up and get better with the MLS refs because
honestly,
they're out there with their seeing eye dogs, right?
Yeah, right.
But listen, let's. We talked about the goals. Anyone who's a Galaxy fan saw the goals by now. They saw the highlights. They know what happened during the game. Let's talk about the stats. So let's break down the stats a little bit because, listen, if you look at the stats across the board, the Red Bulls just about dominated the LA Galaxy. If you look at those stats, right? You're looking at the Red Bulls outpossessing the LA Galaxy 53 to 47%. Granted, it's not a lot, right? But you get outpossessed at home. That's never good, right? The Red Bulls outshot the LA Galaxy 14-7, double. They created more chances than the LA Galaxy. They had more accurate passes. They had a more accurate pass success rate. They had 7 corners to the LA Galaxy's 1. We talked about the shots, 14 shots. They just had more going for them as far as the stats are concerned. On the defensive end, they won more duels. The defenders had more tackles, more successful tackles, more interceptions in the LA Galaxy. It was just, I wouldn't want to say it's a one-sided game because it definitely it wasn't. I mean, this is what you see on paper. On the field, it was different. But I don't know. I feel like this game could have easily been a tie. Luckily, it wasn't because Javier Chicharito Hernandez showed up big for the team. But what do you guys think? Is this a tale of a difference between what's on paper and what was on the field? What do you think, Casey?
I mean, it was a really highly contested game, and I mean, yeah, you said New York won most of the duels. They are actually showing a little bit of resurgence under their new coach, Gerhard Stuber. I think I'm saying that right. But yeah, and like I said, it got a little chippy at some points. But the Galaxy did get dominated in a lot of aspects, and I think
Right.
there are going to be a couple of questions about tenacity and that sort of stuff and physicality and how that's going to affect players in the long run. But it's the second game of the season. There are going to be some some rusty aspects of the team, but it's nothing to cry home to mom about. I think it's it was a highly contested game.
Definitely was. Matt, looks like you're trying to say something there.
I actually think that the stats accurately reflect the game. I had posted on the Reddit before that I thought going into this game, the Red Bulls are not a good team, right? They don't have the teams that they used to have, but they do play that Red Bull high press system that they play from Salzburg to Leipzig to Red Bulls New York, right? And I had said before, like, the issue we're going to have with the Red Bulls isn't going to be a talent issue, right? It's going to be a system issue. It's going to be like one of those styles make fights issue. And the issue we're going to run into was that our young guys were going to need to be more composed given their lack of experience with a high press system. I also said that Granser was just going to need to be better, right? And that Jonah, if he played anything but his best self, we were going to have issues in the midfield. Well, none of those things occurred positively in our favor. And naturally, like, we struggled. And the statistics show that, right? Now, did we struggle to the extent that I thought we were going to struggle to? Like, no. At the end of the day, like, we got the win. We managed to counter and ping the ball through gaps in the ways that we need to. And players that we didn't think were going to step up, Zubak, for example. And I'll go on a big, long rant about why I like Zubak. And people will think that he's my cousin because I've been like ranting about this guy so much. He's not my cousin. There's like a foot difference between the two of us. But like, at the end of the day, like, I feel like the stats actually reflected the game here, and that the issue that we thought we were going to run into, we ran into. But because Greg Vanney is such a composed and professional coach, because he's just like a level above in terms of like his system, we were able to navigate through something that last year would have taken us not by surprise, but would have just overwhelmed us. But no, I think the stats accurately reflect the game for sure, 100%.
Right on.
So I want to chime in here. I want to say, after watching this game and the Inter Miami game, I'm a little nervous. Honestly, obviously we're first in the entire league. So Kevin, why are you nervous, right? Well, because we've now conceded 4 goals in 2 games. We are literally second to last in the entire Western Conference for goals conceded outside of Minnesota. That is, we are literally just one Chicharito drought or someone else not scoring from us from being a really bad team. Honestly, this really so far has reminded me of the Ibra days, where Ibra was carrying us. Right now, Chicharito is carrying us, where he's converting those few chances he's getting. But what happens when inevitably Chicharito goes 3, 4, 5 games without scoring a goal? Are we just going to really struggle? Are we still going to be conceding 2, 3 goals a game, but we're not going to be scoring 2, 3 goals a game to keep up with this? I know obviously we signed Derek Williams, and he still hasn't played a game, but Dupuis and Esteras, they make me nervous. Bond, thankfully, I think he's really great. He's been after Bingham last season and Klinsmann. I think Bond has been really great, and I think he also stopped us today from it being a tie. I think,
for sure.
Yeah, I think so. Special shout out to him, because I really think that would have been 3-3 if we had Bingham, or maybe we would have even lost if we had Bingham or Klinsmann in goal. That's the difference. But it worries me going forward once we play some better teams, because Inter Miami and New York Red Bulls, I don't know if they're really expected to make the playoffs this season, whereas we're coming up on some really good teams soon.
That's a good point.
Hard season coming up with us. The Western Conference, in my opinion, is a lot harder than the West or the Eastern, and it's gonna get tough.
And we're not really playing Eastern Conference teams this season, so we're pretty much stuck here in the West. And like Matt, I mean, Matt, we talked about this last week, but Kevin just basically hit the nail on the head. Kevin, you're being too logical. You're being too logical for this show. Okay.
I'm sorry. I worry.
But listen, it's a genuine concern to have because we talked about this last week. Inter Miami was a dumpster fire team last season. And they still have a whole lot of holes. They have a lot of questions to answer for. They're not the greatest team. They had no preseason, right? So, and we still struggled with them a little bit, right? I mean, we beat them by 1 goal. The New York Red Bulls, again, same thing. They're not the hottest team. I don't think anyone's projecting them to even make playoffs this season. And we beat them by 1 goal. Same thing. They lost their opener at home versus SKC, so these are minnows compared to the Sharks that we're about to face in the coming days, which is teams like Seattle, teams like LAFC, and Austin. It's looking pretty hot right now. Yeah. Who knows what they're looking like? But hey, they had a comeback victory. I think it was Saturday, right? They won 3-1. So
they looked really good in that, and it's scary to me that Austin FC is a very solid. They're not an amazing team, but they're a solid team. I honestly feel like they could be a sleeper in this league.
They could be. I mean, for sure. And we'll have to talk a little bit more about that game as it draws a little closer. But let's move on now and talk a little bit. There's a section of the show that I like to call the good, the bad, and the ugly. As cheesy as that sounds, but people out there have given positive feedback on it. Let's start off with the good, shall we? To me, the good, quite easy. I mean, it's quite easy to say, right? It's the fact that the Galaxy won their home opener. And that is, in fact, the first time in over 10 years since the LA Galaxy has won their first 2 games of the season back to back. I wrote about this on Twitter a couple days ago. That was 2010, the last time they did that, which is it's huge. It's only the second game of the season, but that stat alone makes me extremely optimistic that this team can truly be something special down the line, right? Something else that was good to me was, hey, our $7 million man is finally producing, right? A hat trick by Javier Chicharito Hernandez today. Couple other things, but let's get some of your goods. Okay, now let's start off with Matt. Matt, what did you see in this game that you thought was good?
Okay, so I'll skip Chicharito because I mean that's obvious. Chicharitos, right? I'm gonna go with the old men. The old men were the good part of today's game. I just feel like Victor Vasquez once again proving how quality he can be, without being like a Sebastian Blanco or like any really the other players MLS where they just like are expending so much energy to be so productive. Victor Vasquez is just like he's got a subtly like sexy type of game, right? Like he's like the Kate Beckinsale of like soccer players. Like he's not like a Sofia Vergara. Sofia Vergara, like loud, sexy. The sexiness is obvious. He's like Kate Beckinsale, where like it's like subtle and like just the passes he throws, the way he manipulates the game so like efficiently. It's just like a wonder to see. And then Sasha Kleshkin, right? Like Sasha Kleshkin didn't have the big moment that he had last game where he hit that like dynamic curve shot, right? But Sasha Kleshkin comes in and he's coming in with Harvey, who like came into the game and was so clumsy with the ball. My goodness, you would think that guy had concrete on his feet every time he touched the ball, And then he also like had like Efra next to him, right? And Efra had good moments, but like Efra obviously like did his Efra thing after a while where he just kind of tried to do too much. Right. But Sasha Kleshkin like absorbed the pressure in the time in which we were like hanging on by like the skin of our teeth, and he just like relieved the pressure, right? Sure. He just gave us enough moments just to survive it. And that's like no small thing. So for me, the good is definitely, outside of Chicharito, is the old man. And then also like Ethan Zubak. And I'm just going to say this, Ethan Zubak.
He's your cousin.
People get mad at Ethan Zubak because he's not like a traditional winger, right? Like he doesn't do the winger Pavone type things. But if you look at Ethan Zubak, like a wide pivot, he's actually a very good pivot player. Yeah, he gets the ball in the long ball. He can hold it up. he pings the triangles so well. Like even that Vasquez goal that Vasquez sets up with Chicha, that started on the opposite end with Ethan Zubak doing a 1-2 twice and then rotating the ball over, right? And when Ethan Zubak is like, when he has the energy, when he's not breathing out of his mouth like a trout, like he's actually pretty fast and pretty athletic, you know? So my other good of the game is going to be Ethan Zubak. I'm sure I'm going to get burned by this one, but you know what? Forget all you people, because at the end of the day, you cannot point to one winger that's been more effective than Ethan Zubak since the season started. It's not Grancer, it's not Dunbar, it's Ethan Zubak. And ugly as it may be, like his effectiveness is real. That's true. Gonna be my good.
That's true. Hey, listen. So we've confirmed, or Victor Vasquez is as sexy as Kate Beckinsale.
You heard it here first.
Hey, listen, he had an assist today, and we've talked about him on the show. The guy is man, he's just been phenomenal for this team. He's injected a lot of life into that midfield. Casey or Kevin, what was the good that you guys saw in this match? You guys want to take the lead on this?
Well, I think you guys touched mostly, you know, on my notes as far as good goes. We're, you know, top of the league, 6 points. Chicha's got 5 goals, scored a hat trick today. You know, and we do have some tough opponents coming up, but I think there's still a lot of good to look forward to. I think, like you were talking about, Ethan Zubak looks great on the wing. I mean, he's confident taking the ball forward. You know, he looks comfortable in that position. And like you said, he works really well as a wide pivot, and he can take the ball all the way to the 18 and you know, do the things he did like he did today to set up an opportunity for Chicharito. So yeah, kudos to him.
Kevin,
forget all the haters. Forget all the Zubak haters.
Honestly, yeah, Zubak, he's really surprised me, especially after last season where I honestly thought he might get cut in this offseason, especially because Augustine Williams, he had a strong preseason, but Zubak he's going strong. But for I have 2 good, and I mentioned it earlier. I think this game, one of the main differences between last season is, aside from Chicharito, would be Bonds. He made quite a few really quality saves, and on top of that, he took that hit 30 seconds in the game. He got up and he continued on. He showed no signs of fear from that, because other keepers, you know, you get hit straight in the face right in the beginning of the game, that might intimidate you going through the rest of the game. But he was strong, and he honestly, he I know on the second goal you could argue he came out a little bit too early, and he might have got at that ball, but I really think he was the difference maker. And then on my second good was honestly the fans. I loved hearing the fans back in the stadium. The drums, it was just so nice hearing the LA Galaxy chants again. Like finally, it was so loud. Just, you know, sitting in my living room, just watching the Galaxy games, it just made me reminisce about the days when I used to be able to go and watch them live. And I know only it was like 6,000 or 7,000 were able to go. And congrats, Matt, on being one of the lucky few to grab a ticket for that. I know it was very difficult, but credit to y'all. You were really loud, and I'm sure the players heard. I mean, if I could hear it, I'm sure the players heard it, and it got them fired up. We won
for sure. Just to kind of piggyback off what you said, Kevin, Jonathan Bond, man. What a phenomenal goalkeeper he is. I know that the score sheets don't really reflect that, right? Because anytime a goalkeeper gets scored on, it doesn't reflect well on them. But it's just so much more than that, right? Like the saves that he's making, right? The saves that he's making. He had 4 saves on the night. 2 of them were full stretch diving saves, and those were top-notch saves. Stuff that's just, I mean, we haven't seen that kind of reflex in a goalkeeper in a long time, you know. And I said it a couple times before, since Jaime Pinedo, you know. We just can't say enough about this guy. It's you know, we hope that the next game is a clean sheet, right? Against Seattle. I guess Rui Diaz will have something to say about that, but let's hope it's a clean sheet, and then let's hope it's a clean sheet for the LAFC game. But yeah, Bond is okay. He's great. Now, we talked about the good, which means we obviously have to talk about the bad. Okay. A couple bad things that I saw in this game, but Kevin, start us off, man. Start us off. What did you see in this game that you thought was bad?
The defense. Yet again, it just does not give me confidence. I can't even. So I know we got Williams to be obviously one of our starters here. I don't know between Sturridge or Dupuis who I would prefer to put next to Williams, because they both I don't know. It might be harsh to say, but they don't strike me as like starting MLS like caliber players. Mm-hmm. They both do not strike me with confidence that if they're starting for us, we could win the MLS Cup. And I know we have Gonzalez on the bench, but this is the second coach now who does not rate Gonzalez as a starter. And it also begs the question, why are we paying him that much money just to sit on our bench?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, listen, it's 4 goals in 2 games, right? That's not good. It's not a good look. Mm-hmm. And we've won both games by 1 goal, so the stats on the defense, it's not good. You look at the stats, there was a lot of turnover, a lot of emergency defense. I agree. That was something that I agree with was bad with this game. Casey, what did you see in this game that you thought was bad?
Yeah, like you said, there was, a lot of easy turnovers, especially in the midfield and in the defense. Stu Holden even touched on it in the broadcast. Carlos Harvey was letting some easy challenges go, letting some easy balls go, just balls that go completely to the opponent. It's just something that's going to have to be cleaned up, and things that rust that will shake off as the season progresses.
Yeah. Matt, what did you think? Who was our best defender out there? If we're talking about the defense, who did you think was our best defender out there, Matt?
Okay, I'm gonna disagree with Kevin on this one.
Okay.
I don't think the center backs are the issue. Not to say that they're the best center backs we could field. I think the main problem is this midfield. I think the midfield is the issue. I think having seen the way we played against Miami, and then also the way we played against the Red Bulls today, I mean, our midfield is it's like Jello. Like, they literally just run through it. Like, what challenges are we even putting on? This is before Harvey. Like, at least Harvey, as clumsy as he is with the ball, he will throw his body at somebody, right?
Sure.
Like, what did Saldana and Jonah do? They didn't really do anything. Like, when they counter, they just blow right past our midfield, and then all of a sudden we're at our back line, right? So I think given the circumstances, like our center backs did reasonably well. I actually think probably the best defender overall was either Villafana, or even in the short amount of time he was in, probably O'Neal Fisher. And I would say, if you're looking minute by minute, it was O'Neal Fisher again. I think he was by far the best defender. He just came in, and in a time when we're you said we were just all praying to whatever sweet baby Jesus deity we pray to. He was just locked down on that right side again. And him being there allowed Araujo to go up and go do his thing. But I just think either O'Neal Fisher or Villafana. I don't think the center backs are the issue. I think our midfield with Saldana is just really, really, really bad. I think you can't have a midfield in which Vasquez is not going to take away the ball, and Saldana is not going to take away the ball, and JDS is going to try to play in a way that doesn't injure himself. It cannot work, you know? And I think that's why you see people immediately take the ball away from us and just eat up 10 to 15 yards in a few steps, pretty much unimpeded. And then all of a sudden we're playing panic defense again. But those would be my best defenders. And then I think the bad was with all the young players, Grandsir, Saldana, and Araujo. And you know what? Alvarez too. And you know what? Harvey too. All the young players showed their youth today, and ultimately, they didn't step up. And I get it. I get it. They're going to develop. They're going to be better. But ultimately, the rest of us, our record doesn't give us a handicap. Oh, you played young players today. Oh, so your loss doesn't count as negatively as it should, right? No. At the end of the day, if you're getting paid to be out there, you're accountable for your performance. This isn't AYSO anymore, even if you're young. So I think all the young players had a dud of a game, whereas the old players showed their class, young players showed their inexperience.
So Matt, is is Alvarez worth the hype? Because I know United States and Mexico are fighting over him right now, and I think he's leaning towards Mexico. But from everything I've seen, I don't know. I don't know yet.
You know, I think Alvarez, the winger, is not a thing because, like, you look at him as a winger and he's not fast. He doesn't take people on. He's not a particularly proficient dribbler. Like, that's not a winger, right? But no one is willing to, like, donate the time to put him in the center of the field and make him, like, just make his mistakes the same way they do with Saldana. And for a long time, like, the Galaxy probably could have done it the last 2 years, but because the Galaxy are always in crisis mode, trying, like, for dear God to hang on to playoffs, they can't invest any time in anybody, right? So I honestly feel like Alvarez is a good player, but like a Mehmet Ozil, for example, he needs to be in the right system, you know, and a system that's not he needs to be in a system that's already strong. He cannot come in and be the difference maker. That's not going to be his game.
Yeah.
I think he's worth the hype. I just do not think he will ever work at the Galaxy. I think he's better off being moved on to a better team.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's my hot take. I think we should be trading Alvarez away for some type of, you know, potential depth or someone that could utilize this a bit more, because in the current state of things, I don't think Alvarez will ever suit our team. We don't seem to be the type, if we're at least with Vanny, we seem to be transitioning more towards the 4-4-2, and Alvarez typically has been subbed on more in the wing role, and he just doesn't seem to thrive there. And I don't know if he'll be subbed on in the traditional, you know, number 10 role going forward with us, especially with Lletget coming back. And we have a rumored defensive midfielder coming in as well.
That's right. That's right. And I mean, Vanny kind of hinted at that, and so did Klein. So that's good news, because I honestly, like Matt said, we need a lot of help in that midfield, you know. But moving on, we talked about the bad, we talked about the good. Let's talk about the ugly. Now, my ugly take on this. Despite the fact that we are winning games, outscoring the opponents, we really do need other players in the offense to step up and score goals. Okay, that's my ugly take. Like Kevin said earlier in the show, we are one Chicharito goal drought, or one Chicharito injury away from having some really ugly results, right? Because he's the only one scoring goals right now. You know, Samuel Grandsir has been, okay, I can see it. He's got the speed, he's got a bit of the movement, but it's just, it's flaccid. You know, there's nothing there. I'm not seeing that offensive spark yet. We're seeing a little bit of that with Zubak, but I mean, Zubak's not a starter. He's not a guy that you place the hopes of a season on and hope that you get to MLS Cup with that offense that includes Ethan Zubak in it, right? I think Kevin Cabral will help with a lot of this when he comes. But again, he's a young kid, unproven. He may work out. He might not. We need more players to start scoring goals. That's my ugly. And I know a lot of people out there are going to be like, dude, but we're winning, and Chicharito's scoring goals. I don't know. What do you guys think? Any ugly takes that you guys take from this game so far? From this team so far, from this game?
The ugly for me was probably the last 15, or I guess 25 minutes of the game, considering the 10 extra minutes of stoppage time. You know, like I touched on earlier, there just wasn't a lot of gas in the tank. Like you guys spoke about, you know, we didn't finish the game with all three DPs. So, you know, that could be a concern for longevity moving forward. But, you know, it's the second game of the season. It's a midday game. You don't know what kind of toll that has on some players. So it is what it is. But it certainly was an ugly last 15 to 25 minutes of the game.
For sure. Guys, anything else that you guys saw that you thought was ugly about this game?
Yeah. So if my bad was the defense, my ugly was going to be the midfield. Because I just Dos Santos, for the second straight game, he has not given me any type of vibe that he is that type of player who deserves that DP price tag. And on top of that, Saldana and him do not seem to be like clicking very well in that midfield. We've had, you know, obviously great partnerships in the midfield. I mean, especially when we play the 4-4-2, it's hard not to think of Juninho and Sarvas. This was as far away as you could get from Juninho and Sarvas. Those two just do not seem to be on the same wavelength. And I don't know, because, we have Demata. Apparently, he's supposed to be coming in the summer. But, Lletget, where does he fit in with this team? Is Cabral considered a striker, or is he considered the left wing spot? And then is Zubac our full-time 4-4-2 player, or is Lletget now seen as like the attacking midfielder? I really don't know. I worry about what's going to happen because Dos Santos, I don't think he's our starting defensive midfielder, and I think he's even said himself that's not where he wants to be playing. And I really think we need someone else next to him who's more. But then again, why are we paying Dos Santos so much money to be our DP if he's not? He, like as you mentioned, he's not even going the full game now. It's been the second straight game where we haven't been impressed with him, and I worry.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of questions regarding Jonathan Dos Santos going into the season, right? I mean, the injuries are mounting. He had his last season was okay, right? He's getting up there in age. It's his last year in the contract, so this should be the year where he's playing the hardest, right?
Mm-hmm.
But so far we haven't seen that. So I would agree with you. That designated player spot is weighing really heavy right now, and it feels like it's weighing us down. Matt, any last words on anything you saw that was ugly in this game?
No, just a combination of the last two. I mean, obviously, Casey pointed out that the last 15 minutes was really bad, but that's really bad because we don't have our DPs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I think we've talked about this before. The players I'm the hardest on are the people who make the most amount of money, right? Because you have a higher expectation to what your value is, right? And Jonah, and like Chicha gets a pass because he got a hat trick. It is what it is. You know what I mean? I mean, who wouldn't be tired there? But Jonah is like on the verge of like bust territory. To be perfectly honest, like I know he's beloved by like the Galaxy public, but in all honesty, like we've had him for like 4 or 5 years. He's had one great year. Like if he doesn't put it together here, like he's a bust. Like that's just is the way it is. Like loved or not.
Right.
And quite honestly, like if he can't finish games, then he's not even a TAM player for us. We could probably go get a TAM player that could finish us a full 90 games.
Yeah.
So my ugly is DPs not finishing games, because like if you look at the last like 4 or 5 years, the only players who could go a full 90 have been our oldest players in Ashley Cole and Zlatan. Like that's and Pavone, right? Like that's ridiculous. Like come on, get on your horse as a professional and figure it out already, man. You're getting paid like millions of dollars to do 90 minutes. Like I'm not gonna be hard on like a Servando Carrasco. Like that man makes like 60,000 a year. If he can't finish a game, God bless him for going out there and trying. You make 1.5, $2 million, dude. Pick up your knees and start running. You know.
No,
So,
that's true.
Probably a combination of the two of them, but I don't know. Like I said, he's verging on bust territory for me. I don't care if he's beloved by everybody. At the end of the day, like you got to play games, man.
No, that's
end
true.
of story.
That's true.
Because I'm here as a consumer, as a fan, to like watch wins, to get titles. You know what I mean? And our jerseys that we buy, our flags that we buy, our tickets that we buy, pay these salaries. You have to figure it out as a professional to fit the full 90 minutes in. You just have to, right? Or you'll get moved on. That's the free market.
I think part of that has to do a lot with the players' mentality and their grit, right? Because you look at some of these players like, take the Dos Santos brothers, for example. They have the terrible reputation of being made out of glass, right? I mean, Giovanni Dos Santos, somebody so much as breathes on the guy and he's hurt, right? Like he's made out of glass. Jonathan looks to be a little bit of the same. They're cut from the same cloth, and it might just be the fact that they were born into some sort of, I don't know if you want to call it wealth, but their dad was a professional soccer player. He played many years for very big clubs. He got them into the greatest soccer academy on earth, which is, La Masia in Barcelona, through his connections, I'm sure, right? It opened a lot of doors. So maybe these are guys that didn't really have to struggle for much. It was just kind of like, here's the door, just walk through it, right? So they're very comfortable. Whereas maybe some guys that grew up in the slums, like, I know Ibra says he had kind of a hard background. Guys like Pavone, who comes from, poor background in Argentina. These are guys that maybe had to fight a little bit more, maybe played with not the best type of shoes. Maybe the balls weren't the best. The fields weren't the best. They just kind of build that toughness, right? Whereas guys like the Dos Santos brothers are like, hey, listen, the grass is a little too lumpy and it hurt my knees. So like, I'm done for 3 months, dude. Like, I don't know. It might just be a mental thing, but Jonathan Dos Santos, I don't know if he'll finish this season with being our DP with the most minutes. I really do doubt it. I really do doubt it. And that's a big question. Big question. Any other takes, guys? Ugly stuff, good stuff, bad stuff?
My last, I guess, hot take would be commenting on Dos Santos. I wouldn't be surprised since he is in the last year of his contract. I wouldn't be surprised to see that LAGalaxy negotiate some type of longer deal with him, where he might get like a 2-year extension in the summer as more of a TAM player, but that will open the door for us to sign someone like Sergio Aguero or someone in the summer. That's my hot take. I think Dos Santos wants to be here, and I think he's worth it being here as long as he's not a DP. I don't think he's a DP caliber player, but I think in the summer the plan is get him down to TAM because he's already pretty close to it from what I recall, and get an actual DP player in because I know there's quite a few this summer who could partner Chicharito up top. And I think that's what the LAGalaxy is looking at.
Yeah. No, I know you guys have heard me say this 1,000,001 times on the subreddit, right? I've been saying it for years. The Galaxy needs that DP center attacking midfielder, that natural 10 playmaker to just kind of make the offense click. Something we haven't had I don't know, since Landon Donovan retired the first time, right? Like he wasn't a traditional center attacking midfielder, but he was that guy. I mean, you don't become the league's highest assist leader just out of the blue, right? You have to be good at giving passes and creating plays. Like that's what Landon Donovan was. That's what the Galaxy tried to do with Giovanni Dos Santos, which of course we know never worked. But since then, we haven't had that player. The Galaxy went out of their way to fill that DP spot with his brother, which is ridiculous because you look across the league, there are really no teams that sign DP center midfielders, right? It's the winning combination is you have a DP striker, you have a DP center attacking midfielder, a playmaker, a number 10, and most often you have another attacker that's a DP, right? It's an attacking role, whether it's another striker or a winger. That seems to be the winning combination here. So honestly, Kevin, you're right. Jonathan Dos Santos, this is his last year on the contract. I don't think he's coming back as a DP. I don't think anybody out there would place any money on him coming back as a DP. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I don't think he deserves that money anymore. I think the Galaxy might offer him a contract extension with like a TAM salary. I don't think he'll take it, to be honest with you.
Really?
I don't think he'll take it. He's like his dad is his agent. Okay. And his dad is very influential in his and his brother's life. I would not be shocked if his dad is already in communication with Club America. And he's like, hey, listen, this is a national team player. He's Jonathan Dos Santos. He's brothers with Giovanni. It's a marketing slam dunk if you sign him, right? And Club America has the money to do it. Trust me.
Of course.
Yeah. So
I don't doubt that.
If Jonathan gets the option of, hey, stay in LA for, I don't know, $600,000 a year for the next 5 years, or go to Club America, listen, you're 31 by this time, go earn your last big paycheck. Club America might pay him in the millions, right? Because I know they're paying his brother like 2 or 3 million per season. They're going to pay Jonathan Dos Santos at least 2 million, 2.5 million. I would take it in a heartbeat. If I'm Jonathan Dos Santos, I take it in a heartbeat. I go to Mexico to play with my brother, and I earn one big fat paycheck before retiring. I don't know. That's my hot take. I think that's what's going to happen.
I mean, I would agree with you if that happens. And if that was honestly the plan, if we got any type of inkling that was something he wanted to do, I would be trying this summer to get Jonathan Dos Santos moved, even if on a free, to Mexico, because in the summer it's the best time to be getting these new designated players, because Europe obviously off season with the Euros and stuff like that. After the Euros, there's gonna be so many players open to come into this league, and I think it's prime pickings for us.
Sure. Now, listen, we covered the game. We covered the good, the bad, and the ugly. We went through some stats, some post game Vanny comments. Let's just very briefly talk about the next game, the LA Galaxy, right? That's, of course, we're talking about the LA Galaxy versus the Seattle Sounders. And that's this upcoming May the 2nd. The Galaxy going to Seattle to face Seattle. This is a Seattle Sounder that is now second in the West. 4 points. They just tied with LAFC this weekend. They're missing their star player. They're missing Nico Lodeiro, right? And I mean, this is still a very offensively dangerous team. They have arguably one of the best strikers in the league, and Raul Rui Diaz. But what do you guys think? I mean, I feel like this might be our first real opponent. We talked about Inter and we talked about the Red Bulls being minnows. What do you guys think this upcoming game versus the Seattle Sounders? What are we facing? Matt, what are we facing?
You know what? I don't know. Maybe I'm going to be off from Kevin here because I think he was impressed by Seattle. I wasn't. I actually think we can beat him. I think without Jordan Morris, they lack a lot of that verticality speed that had made them like pretty iconic. I think that looking at the way their defense played, Arriaga is like a massive question mark at center back. I mean, that guy is just lost. He is lost with his midfield. He is lost with his goalie. He doesn't know which way is left. He doesn't know which way is right. I mean, he can absolutely be taken advantage of by Chicha. And in terms of the way they're playing offensively, they don't have any faith in their midfield. Like if you watch the last game against LAFC, they're playing a lot of long direct balls over the top, skipping their midfield, just trying to get it to Rui Diaz.
Yeah.
João Paulo is like what we hope Dos Santos will eventually play like. He is a stud. He is way too good for this league. But he's one man out there trying to like maneuver midfielders that do not like speak the soccer language that he's trying to speak to them. So I think absolutely we can 100% beat him. If we had legit, I'd tell you outright it's a win for sure. We don't. So we're going to have to figure out what we're going to do with Saldana or what we're going to do with that midfield. But 100% Seattle can be taken advantage of. Like that 100%, I guarantee you.
What do you think, Casey? Can we take advantage of the Seattle Sounders if for whatever reason Nico Lodeiro doesn't come back on Sunday?
So, yeah, I mean, Seattle's always tough to take on at home. Just for the crowd and the fire that the players get behind them because of it. They're one of the hardest teams in the West to beat at home in that regard. But I think, there are some weaknesses in Seattle's back line that they've been dealing with the last couple of seasons, despite their successes. But, I think we may be able to take advantage of it. Their attack is just so swarming and so swift, and they get you so quickly on the counters. And I think that's really going to be a little too overwhelming for our defensive situation at the moment. But, only time will tell. They dropped 4 on Minnesota in the opening game, and they looked extremely good against Minnesota. And so it's a tough call. I mean, I think we could walk away with a draw, but I'm not optimistic that we could walk away with a win.
They smashed Minnesota and they got a draw at the Bank of California versus LAFC, which is not easy to do. Not a lot of teams can do that, right? They get a result on the road essentially against a hot team like LAFC. What do you think, Kevin? Do we have a chance based off what you've seen from the Galaxy in these last 2 games?
A chance, of course, but I'm not super optimistic. I think we're probably going to go up to Seattle, and I'm calling. I think it's going to be a 1-1. I really don't think we're going to go up there and win. It's been a long time since we've gone up to Seattle and beat them. I think it's been like 3 years now. And so I don't know. Yeah, I know Seattle's missing players. They're missing also Morris with his ACL, but Seattle's a good team. They traditionally struggle in the beginning of the season. But I don't know. I worry about our team. This is going to be our first real test. And I think this is going to be a really good sign for us to see where our team stands within the Western Conference. So even if we draw, this is going to be a really good sign for what we expect our team to be.
Absolutely. This is going to be a really good measuring stick for the LA Galaxy. This following game against the Seattle Sounders is going to be a really good measuring stick for the LA Galaxy. It's been, listen, a lot of people slept on Seattle, right? Myself included. This is a team that's won two MLS Cup in the last five years. They've
Mhm.
they've contested four MLS Cups. I think they've been in three or four MLS Cup finals, and they've won two. This is a really good team. This is going to be a real test for the LA Galaxy now. I saw that game against LAFC, and like I said, they got a result on the road against LAFC. So something to very much look forward to, right? That game against Seattle. But I
Yes, I
think
called 3 wins to start the season. And what
I
are we at
hope
right
so.
now?
I
What are we
really
at?
hope so, Matt.
We're at 2-0. I called 3 before the season started. We're at 2-0. I'm just saying
right on.
the prophecy must be fulfilled.
But hey, listen, I think we pretty much got through everything, right? Would you guys agree?
Yeah, definitely.
Right on. So I know you guys are probably nursing some hangovers that are creeping in right now. And you see that. So I know you guys probably need to get to bed real soon. I know, Kevin, you're about an hour or two ahead. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but again, guys, I really do appreciate you guys coming on the show. This is I don't know, like we spoke about this before we hit record, right? This is the unofficial official
Yeah.
Reddit, the LA Galaxy subreddit podcast. We're all Reddit
Oh, yeah.
boys here.
Yeah, of course. It's been great. I really enjoyed this. It's nice just to talk to Galaxy fans again. It's been with COVID. It's honestly been great just to talk to other people who, as someone other than my wife about the Galaxy.
A big reason why this show even exists now, right? I mean, it's just that interaction with fans, and I mean, we've been doing it for years. We've just been doing it behind the keyboard, right?
Yes.
And now we get the chance to actually talk face to face, even if it is digitally. But it's great. I loved having you guys on. It won't be the last time. I want to have you guys on, like a revolving door type of thing. Whenever you guys want to come on, open invite for anyone else on our subreddit that wishes to come on. Just send me a message. I answer all the messages that I get. But Matt, I want to thank you, sir, for being on yet again. Short notice, but you came on. Casey, dude, always pleasure having you on. Kevin, Mr. KSN0 himself. We finally get to meet the man. Awesome having you on, sir. I appreciate it. So from us, from the Galaxy Guy podcast, from Chris Maldonado, I want to thank the viewers for just stopping by yet again. Again, remind you to subscribe, like the video. And we'll see you guys next weekend, hopefully for our third win of the season when we do that post-game show. And that's it. Hope you guys have a fantastic week. Guys, we're signing off. See you later.
See you.
And